Hello viewers and welcome to yet another Warhammer 40,000 Conquest video production. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present you with still another installment in my continuing series of community spotlight videos in which I interview various prominent and upstanding members of the Conquest LCG community. In the past we discussed guests' favorite decks and how best to pilot their preference of Warlord. But now that I've completed an initial interview and guest analysis for each of our first 14 Warlords and our first 2 Tyranid Warlords, I now look to assess and explore the thus far strictly previewed Warlords of the upcoming Planetfall cycle of war packs. So expect a discussion that's largely based on experience, but still contains some speculation and theory, but hopefully through guests sharing their initial impressions and opinions all within the context of hundreds of previous games worth of experience, they'll be able to provide you with a wealth of information useful to both new and veteran players alike. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit the like button, ensure you're subscribed, and you're always encouraged to share, because the more engagement this video receives, the more viewers are reached, and ever the broader you help grow our Conquest community. But with our introduction aside, let's get things started with a discussion of our upcoming new Space Marines faction warlord, the Black Templar Chaplain Mavros. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, but before we delve into a deep discussion of our latest Space Marines warlord, why don't you introduce yourself and let our viewers know just a little bit about how you're involved in the Conquest community.
Hello viewers, my name is Robert Haustein. I'm from Berlin in Germany. I'm 35 years old and I play Conquest since the beginning, even before with copies that we had with the first previews, and I was totally fixed from the beginning. I started playing the tabletop game when I was 13 and had a visit to the UK, but I stopped it with 16 or 17 because it became far too expensive for me. So after that, I switched to Legend of the Five Rings. That was my primary game for the last 10 to 12 years. I was playing the Crab Clan always, and I stopped playing Legends 3 years ago because it became a little bit unbalanced and it was not that good anymore. So when I saw the first previews of Conquest, I thought, well, that would be a game I would be interested in. After that, I convinced my playgroup to join me, and since then we are playing together in Berlin. Yeah, I think that's it. One additional thing, I'm the tournament organizer in Berlin, and with the help of my playgroup and endless test matches, I was able to win the Nordic Championships with a Kato deck.
Right. I was just going to say, thank you so much for coming on today. It's always fantastic to have a player with your kind of accolades come on. So congratulations once again on the 2015 Nordic Championship.
Thank you.
Just a couple questions before we get started. I suppose back when you played Tabletop 40K, what was your chosen faction?
Of course it was the Space Marines, and of course it was the Blue Giants, the Ultramarines. Many people think they are just plain, but I was thinking, well, that's my chapter.
Sure, and they're always iconic, but it seems like you're being a little bit of a traitor to that chapter today in discussing our Black Templar warlord. But final pre-conquest question is, are we going to end up losing you to our Legend of the Five Rings LCG soon?
Not losing, but as a really, really passionate Legends player, I will, of course, play Legend of the Five Rings again, playing the Crab Clan, defending his honor or something like that. But I will also play Conquest, because the good thing with living card games is it's far cheaper than collectible collectible games, trading card games, and the number of expansions is lower, and they don't come out that much so far. Because in Legends I had a big expansion with 150 new cards every 2 months, and of 2 or 3 months, and in these games in LCGs, it's just over half a year. You get, I don't know how many cards. I think it's 100, 110, 120.
Something like that. But I mean, that just strikes me as absurd. The meta would just be changing constantly.
Exactly. The meta changed in Legends every 3 months, and the balance was not that good. So you got... I was in the top 16 of the last European Championships in 2013, and I knew I couldn't beat the next deck because it was completely broken and it was banned immediately after. But it doesn't matter, it was banned after the tournament. So, and such things happens a lot, and that pissed me off. And so I started looking for something else. And I have to say about Fantasy Flight games, they are sometimes quite late, but with the releases, but the balance is okay. It's really okay.
Sure, and I suppose if I had to pick between the two, just an onslaught of cards every couple months, or the little bit of a dry spell we had leading up to the Great Devourer, I think I would prefer Conquest personally. But with Legend of the Five Rings out of the way, now that we've passed beyond tabletop 40k, we're here to talk about Chaplain Mavros.
Yes.
So he's gonna come soon-ish. I think it's the 5th war pack of the Planetfall cycle that will actually end up seeing this warlord, but relative to Captain Cato Sicarius compared to Ragnar Blackmane, why would a player such as yourself potentially want to play Chaplain Mavros over the other 2 Space Marine options?
Well, the first thing is he has a cool skull mask. That's the most... No, just kidding. I think the stat line is quite good. So he's 2/7. Right. That's good for a Space Marine Warlord. It's better than Cato. And I was never a big fan of Ragnar. That has some reasons, like I'm not really into the hunting game. I don't think Ragnar is that effective. I know many people had a lot of success with him, but I'm not really convinced about him. What is good about Mavros? First, I think its ability is quite good. It's really, really nice. Of course, it has the disadvantage that it's only on blue planets. That's not that good, but I think 6 of the 10 planets have a blue icon or something.
Yes.
So you will see a blue item. So what's positive? First, I think from all the warlords, he has the highest damage potential. So using his ability and in combination with some allies, he can do a lot of spike damage. That's new.
Sure.
That's, in my opinion, very good. And you can use his ability also in the deployment phase for delay, because it's an action once per limit. And if you have a Blood Angel veteran in the game, it's also I think the rules are like that. In my opinion, and the Blood Angel's veteran is straight, you can give him in the deploy phase a +1/+1 and have 2 deploys.
Right. I mean, it's fantastic. When you mention that burst damage in specific, Chaplain Mavros is fully able to target himself with his ability, provided he's at a blue planet. And then the Blood Angel's vets, like you're saying, it's limit per phase, not limit per round. So you can assign a couple points of damage to them, one after another, nicely stall out your opponent during deploy, and your veterans doesn't actually take any damage at all.
Exactly. And I think that's very strong. In addition, even if you don't see a blue planet where you need it, I think its command squad is quite strong. I think it's stronger than Ragnar's. It's not as strong as Cato's, but Cato is just, I think, a little bit above the power line of all other Space Marine Warlords. I think the Templars, the 3 copies of the Templars, are a very good unit. First of all, they can be drop podded. That's really important. And I also think their reaction is really, really good, right, even without Mavros. So
Well, so that's the first time we see this new specialization. It's called Unstoppable, and for those Reclusium Templars specifically, they're basically a 1 command, 2 attack, 3 hit point unit for 3 resources. Like you said, it's a 3 copy card, because we end up seeing a 1 copy elite to fill out that command squad there. But the Unstoppable specialization is the first time the Templars are assigned damage. You prevent one of that damage, and then you ready them. So how exactly do you picture using a unit like that one?
I think Mavros is all about early pressure. I think if the planets are good, with the blue planet, you can do a lot of damage. But even if the planets are not optimal for your cause, if you have a Templar on planet 1, in the first turn, normally an opponent doesn't have a unit that can destroy your your Templar with a 1 hit. You have the Warlord friends, of course, but you can shield the damage.
Right.
So you can pressure really hard the first planets with the Templars, and I think that's the game plan with Mavros. Don't play the long game. It's similar to Ragnar. You don't want to have a 7-planet lineup. You want to finish the game quickly.
Sure. Well, I suppose just in assessing him from a more global standpoint, what are some of his other strengths? Like, what does he manage to do particularly well as a warlord?
I think you can use him as a command sniper because his ability can be used even if it's not at the planet. That's also very important, so you can boost your command game. In addition, if needed, you can assign him to planet 1, 2 and boost himself. He has 7 health,
Right.
and it gets even better when he gets his attachment, his unique attachment, or he can, if you have his action on the hand.
Sure.
So he gets +3 attacks. So it's all about bullying and smashing the opponent early.
Well, I suppose you happen to mention his attachment, so let's touch on that for a moment, since
Sure.
we've got a bigger than normal signature squad here. And just to remind our viewers, since I doubt anyone, even myself, has bothered to memorize these cards yet, the Ancient Croesus Arcanum is a cost of 1. It's, 3 shields, war gear weapon attached to any unit you control. So it's your warlord, it's any of your army units, elite, common, whatever it happens to be. Attached unit gains the Unstoppable specialization. The first time this unit is assigned damage this round, you prevent 1 damage and you remove 1 damage. So would you typically be playing this on the Chaplain, or are there any other contenders?
Yeah, I think the command squad is an possible target, but I think it's the best on himself because you can use the ability on himself and heal yourself. And what is also very important, it's not a relic, so you can play other relics. In addition, there's I think other relic available for Space Marines that is not in the command squad.
Right.
So I think it's most useful on himself, and it's the first, in my opinion, the first healing action beside some Elder unique we can see in the game. So I think it's quite strong for 1 cost.
Sure. I even just the theme of it, Chaplain Mavros, chaplains, they don't actually have like a bare skull. They're not undead space marines, even though they look like it.
Yes.
It's all just for the aesthetic, but just the fact that he looks like a skeleton, and the fact that if you use Iron Halo, if you use the Ancient Croesus Arcanum, combined with his ability, it's like he's just this relentless, unkillable force on the battlefield. Right. So I think it's just fantastic fun, regardless of his, competitive prowess. But yes, I think it's great that his action can trigger the Croesus Arcanum. So you've got on-demand damage removal. So there's certainly a lot to like, but I suppose any other strengths kind of stand out for this guy?
I think you can use his ability more often than Ragnar's. I think that's also a strength. If you want to play an aggressive Space Marine deck, you should play him instead of Ragnar. That's just my opinion. Of course, other people think different. I think his high life, seven life is really really good, and in addition, you can use nearly all the other Space Marine cards with him. So I think you can play a similar deck to a Kato deck and have better results than with Ragnar.
Well, I
in my
guess
opinion.
something I was kind of curious about is we've seen these Space Marines be not exactly a vanilla or a very plain faction, but often people would say you could take a Kato deck and you could just swap out the Warlord for Ragnar and design it basically the exact same, and it would be about as effective. Do you view deck building with Chaplain Mavros being very different?
That depends on the rest of the cycle, in my opinion.
Right.
We will see in the first pack, I think, is a new Black Templar unit, a
Right.
1/1 that searches 6 cards for a Black Templar, right?
Yeah, it's a 1 cost, it's forced reaction. After this unit damages an enemy unit by an attack, you sacrifice it to search the top 6 cards of your deck for a Black Templars unit, cost 4 or lower, and then put that unit into play at the same planet, and then shuffle the remaining cards in your deck. We don't know hit points, we don't know attack value, but we know it's very cheap and has a potentially very powerful ability.
Yes, and I think also the choice of ally, we'll come back to that later, depends on how many Black Templar cards will come out in the cycle.
Right.
If there are some Black Templar cards more, you can play him. At the moment, with just the command squad and the Emperor's Champion, I think he's not really playable, the 1/1 unit. I think the deck would be similar to a Ragnar deck. Not a Kato deck. Why? Because I think for Kato, the favorite ally is Tau. The test results or the results of the championships, not only mine, but other championships on the regional level and the national level, showed that Kato Tau works best. The reason, in my opinion, is because you can search the most broken attachment in the game, the blade,
Sure.
the armor bane and +1. So I think, but for Ragnar, the Imperial Army, or what the new name is, I don't know.
The Astra Militarum just
Yeah, okay.
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's far better. And I think for him, Astra Militarum is better. And I also think that for Mavros, Astra Militarum could be better because you have the outposts, the Katashan outposts, that help with the damage spikes and with the command game. So it depends on the rest of the Black Templar cards. Maybe you even play no ally. I don't know how many Black Templar cards will come out and how many Black Templar cards will trigger each other also. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit up in the air.
Definitely. And I mean, a ton of what we're doing today is just pure speculation,
Yes.
and it's our best guess. So since this is something like I think it's the 5th, maybe it's the 4th. No, it is indeed the 5th war pack we'll end up seeing. Between now and when we actually see this guy, we could just have a complete slew of Black Templars units. I suppose just in assessing this Warlord and his signature squad, do you think there are any specific Warlords or matchups that he's going to do very well against?
I think the Space Marines are a little bit out of a cycle. My results and the result of other people show is that Space Marine can beat nearly everything. So that's very, very consistent. However, they have some weak matchups. I think good matchups are matchups against mass units, not about Dark Elder. Dark Elder, I think, is a problematic matchup, a choke matchup, because you don't have Kato's ability. But I think a good matchup is, for example, to the Needs, the Old One Eye, or the Swarm Lord. I think that's a good matchup. I think another good matchup is Imperial Army, because we are just very bad at the moment. Still very bad. I think Orcs are a good matchup,
Right.
because they're all not very good at the moment. I think that will change with the new Warlord. I think the new Orc Warlord has quite some potential. Tau depends. I think Tau Shadow Sun is an okay matchup. I think Haustein is a bad matchup because Haustein if Haustein rolls, I think it's very hard to beat, as my colleague Hong Wo has demonstrated on the German championships and demonstrated to me every week. So I think Haustein is not a very good matchup. What else do we have? I think we have Chaos. Chaos, I think the Zen Sorcerer is a good matchup. I think Nurgle is a problematic matchup. I lost against Nurgle on the Nordic Championships against a very good player, but Nurgle plus the banner is quite tough for Space Marines, even if they have a lot of hit points.
Right. I suppose I'll be curious to see just how this Warlord performs based on so many of his abilities kind of prevent chip damage or incremental damage, like, prevent the next instance of 1 damage this unit takes, but you also have access to Iron Halo, you also have access to Indomitable.
Yes.
So if Anshi is doing big Armor Bane blows, or you've got some big beefy Orc units, I'm just very curious to see how all of that is going to balance out, and hopefully they did an abundant amount of playtesting and Chaplain Mavros isn't actually unkillable, but he certainly seems like he might be. But I guess earlier you happened to mention that Emperor's Champion. Something that makes his signature squad very unique is the fact that it includes 2 different units. We have a 5-cost unique army unit, 2 command icons, 3 attack, 6 hit points, and its combat action, a target-ready enemy army unit at that planet must be declared as an attacker, and this unit declared as a defender during your opponent's next combat turn if able, but limit once per round. When you draw this unit, under what circumstance do you actually see yourself playing it, and how would you use this army unit?
I think the Emperor's Champion is a very good card because you can use a lot of useful combos with him. When I would play him on crucial battles. That's one thing. I think I wouldn't play him on the first planet in the first round because he's certainly some high costs. But on the second or third planet, it depends. I would play him. What is good on him? I think he can deny, for one example, in a big battle, he can deny the move back of a Warlord, right? Because you can say, okay, next action you have to choose this one. So you can protect your own units because maybe you have a unit with area effect, and on the other side of a table is a 4 damage unit, for example, and or a 5 damage unit. So you can force the opponent to attack the Emperor's Champion instead of your crucial unit for a win. I think that's very, very, very good, and it's once time per combat round, so you can use it sometimes in the battle. Of course, he will be one of the first targets, but he's quite beefy, and I think he's also safe from Archon's terror. That's also a plus, and I think it's just a good unit, a really good unit.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely a lot to like. I know when I made my initial analysis video of this guy, I completely spaced the fact that he was unique. So he's immune to Exterminatus and Doom and Archon's Terror. Some of those cards are starting to make a little bit of a resurgence here. And the fact that you can block like an Armor Bane gun drones or just all kinds of different effects. So you could have a Void Pirate attack you, and instead of allowing your enemy to retreat their Warlords. So I think there's a lot of fantastic stuff you can do with him. So I suppose overall he just strikes me as a pretty stellar unit.
Yeah, exactly what you're saying. The Void Pirate instead of the 5/5 Tau unit with a gun drone attached and Armor Bane stuff. That's quite good. It's really, really good.
Well, earlier we happened to touch on deck building ever so slightly, but of course the Space Marines have two different options. They've got the Tau, and they've got the Imperial Guard, or Astra Militarum. I suppose I can definitely see the appeal for both, but what direction do you personally see yourself going?
I think with this Warlord, I would prefer to give the Astra Militarium a run for their money because you can use the Katashan outposts for additional damage.
Sure.
That's very, very important. And I use Tau for one reason, because I can search attachment with that. So in my winning build, I had a lot of 2 shield cards that were searchable with one Tau unit. And I think Mavros is a little bit more resistant than Kato. And also his command squad is more resistant than Kato's command squad. So maybe I can choose other cards than just 2 shield items.
Right. Well, definitely. And just a little bit of a fun fact for you. I recently created a new how to play Warhammer 40,000 Conquest tutorial video, and the Captain Cato Sicarius deck featured in that video happens to be the deck that you used to win the Nordic Championship. So definitely a lot of 2 shield icon cards indeed in there. But in regard to matchups, in regards to specific problem cards,
yes,
is there anything in particular that really poses a problem? Like, what would you be afraid of seeing if you're playing Chaplain Mavros? What would you not want to go up against at a tournament, whether it's a Warlord, faction, or card?
I think Packmaster Kiff, because Choke is still an option.
Sure.
I don't think Packmaster Kiff will get any really good new cards because she's just playing good at the moment. And one reason I choose Kato is because he can gain resources, and he gain resources easily against the Packmaster because he has area effects, and the Packmaster has a lot of units on the table. So Choke is a matchup where I'm thinking, what could be critical? Because his command squad is more expensive than Ragnar's. So it's 2 versus 3 costs. So I think that's a really bad matchup. That is one. I think Nurgle, again, is a bad matchup. But other than that, I don't know. Maybe I oversee some crazy decks that will appear with the next cycle.
Sure, but it definitely seems like Chaplain Mavros is a pretty strong warlord out the gate, and I suppose for that reason, you mentioned being very aggressive, not so much focusing on playing a long game, but kind of pressing for an early victory. What are just some general, elements of a strategy that you might employ? Like, what approach would you take to playing a game from start to finish if Mavros is your chosen warlord?
Okay, first, of course, it depends on the planet layup. If you have a lot of blue planets, it's easier, and don't have a lot of blue planets. I think first,
right.
Bully the first planet, use his ability maybe on the first planet or snipe on another planet. That depends on the planet layout. If I have the possibility to win in 4 planets or something, the high damage potential he has from the beginning should be used to bully the first planet and gain a lot of icons at the beginning.
Sure.
If you don't have that, you have a lot of mono color planets, it's a little bit different. So there I also would bully the first planets, but I would be a little bit more conservative. So I would send Mavros maybe to another planet to snipe some units, to gain some resources, but still trying to finish the game as fast as possible. Because in the long run, I think he has the same problem as Ragnar. Ragnar is good at the beginning, but gets worse over the flow of the game. That's just my opinion, of course.
Yeah, kind of runs out of steam.
Yeah, he runs out of steam. That's the thing. Kato, on the other hand, gets stronger the longer the games become, because he can snipe very effectively, and he can gain a lot of resources. So yeah, I think that's the general strategy. Just be fast with him. Be fast and use his ability extensively to threaten the first planets.
Well, it definitely makes sense to me, wanting to leverage as much advantage as you can while it's still as relevant as possible. Do you happen to have any, like, card combos or specific plays that become suddenly possible with Mavros that you're really looking forward to?
Well, of course, first of all, it's the combo with a Blood Angel Veteran. That's the most obvious combo.
Right.
Also, I would rely on the standard Space Marine combos like Drop Pod Assault. I also would play in this deck the Crushing Blows, what I did not use in my Kato deck at the end because of additional 2 shield cards. I think I would play Katashan Outpost. That's sometimes a debate in an Imperial Army deck because it's 2 additional costs. Other combos, depending on the number of Black Templar units, I would use the 1-for-1, but I don't think that Mavros will really bring so many new combos. And I think the main reason is just similar to Kith, Space Marines are a really good spot at the moment. Yeah, I know some players are crying about Space Marines. They're not good enough anymore. But of course, the playfield has to be leveled. So it was clear that out of the box, Space Marine was the strongest faction in my opinion. And now we're as good as Kith or as Eldar.
Sure, and I suppose as one means of preparing for today's interview, I was trying to rack my brain and kind of scour my card binder for possible combos that might work well with Chaplain Mavros, involving Space Marine cards that have kind of fallen out of favor or started to be largely ignored or dismissed. Certain cards like Hallowed Librarian that reduces the attack value of target units. No one really plays cards like that, and really the only thing I could think of that I'd be curious to try, personally, is the Fenrisian Wolf, just because for a cost of 2, if you're being extremely aggressive toward that first planet, whether or not your Reclusium Templars are exhausted, you can basically, at the immediate onset of the combat round, you can have that attachment deal damage equal to their printed attack to any army unit, and then you can either have Mavros deal the Templars damage, ready them, and allow them to attack again, whether or not you've got the initiative token. So I'm just very curious to see what, if any, of those just extremely powerful Space Marine staples start to maybe fall ever so slightly out of favor, or if they're either supplemented or replaced by any other kind of effects here. But I guess just in kind of bringing our interview to a little bit of a close, do you think that Chaplain Mavros is going to be competitive? Do you think that he's strong enough to make a big, presence in the tournament scene?
Yes, a clear yes. I think he's quite good. I haven't seen the other cards, but I still think at the moment he's a strong warlord. I think he's stronger than Ragnar. I think he's not as good as Kato at the moment, but Kato is just very, very strong because in card games you have 2 things, hand cards and resources, and this guy just creates one of those things. So I think Kato is still stronger. Even his command squad overall is a little bit better, but I think the second best warlord for Space Marines and for players who want to play very aggressive is Mavros. So I think he's very competitive.
Well,
out of the box.
Fantastic. And I suppose, just as maybe a final question here, if players are going up against Chaplain Mavros, so if they're not the one actually playing this warlord, how might they try to beat a, pretty powerful, difficult to deal with, Space Marine like this one?
First of course is avoid the blue planets.
Sure.
That's the most common thing, but sometimes that's not possible. I think resource choke is really an option because he doesn't have the resources Kato has. I think Dark Eldar are strong with Klavex War Leader of course, that's a good counter. Chaos with a really large amount of damage and is a good counter, and also with the planet sorcery that makes everything one resource more expensive. I think that's very strong. Play such things, and also try to drag out the game, because he becomes weaker as the game becomes longer. So I think that's my initial thoughts about him. But at the end, he's still a Space Marine. He's the same broken cards, in my opinion, like the crushing blows, the drop pod assaults, and the Indomitables. So I think it's quite similar to other Space Marine Warlords.
Sure. Well, I suppose before we do ultimately close things out, any final thoughts, any pieces of advice or wisdom you'd like to share, just being such a, capable tournament player yourself?
Well, I think I want to motivate new players to play the game. I've seen that in our shop, that some people are really, really depressed after losing the first 2 to 3 games. It's Warhammer 40k Conquest is a quite competitive game, and I think the learning curve is quite steep, because in other games you play a lot with yourself, like Netrunner or Game of Thrones, and it's different in Conquest. You are in competition with the opponent from turn 1, and 1 or 2 playing mistakes end the game normally. So I just want to motivate players to stay in the game, new players stay in the game, learn from other players, ask questions, and watch your videos, read in the forum. I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Well, pretty fantastic advice, and definitely I can certainly speak to that it is indeed an ultra-competitive game. It's not just you take an entire turn and then your opponent goes. It's you do something, your opponent immediately answers you, and there's just that constant back and forth. So it's definitely a little bit grueling, a little bit stressful relative to some other games that I've played, but I definitely think it's worth it, and hopefully getting in a bit of practice is ultimately going to pay off for people. But I suppose thank you so much for coming on, Robert, and
My pleasure.
Unless there's anything else, I'll just
I just want to make a short shout out to my playgroup, Renee, Fernando, and Hendrik, for playing with me every week, being good friends, and preparing me so good for the Nordic Championships.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's it from my side.
Well, and I guess I can't let you go without asking, you were the Nordic champion. What are your plans for Worlds?
I hope I will attend Worlds. At the moment, I really try to do, but I am a family man, so I have to see. If I want to attend the Worlds, I would like to meet some guys from the forum. I want to meet Kingsley, who is he's a very good player and a very nice person on the forum with a lot of good ideas, and so many other people from the Card Game DB forum. And I want to chat with our lead designer, and having some fun about the 4 days.
Yeah, I mean, win or lose, I think the entire event would be an absolute blast. But Robert, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. You too, Mitch.
Well, with our interview having finally drawn to a close, I'll just conclude this video by saying thank you once again for watching, and be sure to leave a comment sharing your own thoughts, opinion, and pure speculation when it comes to not just Chaplain Mavros, but the Planetfall Cycle Space Marines faction as a whole. Interacting with viewers like you continues to remain the absolute highlight of my creating content for this channel, so for that reason, please take a moment to let me know what you thought of this interview and what kind of content you'd like to see next. If you know someone that would happen to make a good candidate to guest star in a future video, be it a discussion topic like this one, or perhaps a commentated live action or octagon match, I encourage you to share. But with that said, If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, as ever, you're always encouraged to share, as the more eyes there are on this content, the more potential new players we might draw to this game, and as a result, serve only to ever continue to expand our still growing Conquest community. Please feel free to contact me directly or simply keep in touch through Twitter or through Facebook, and of course, if at any point you feel so inclined to help me cover some of my file hosting and operating expenses, I'd be both humbled and honored were you to donate $1 or $2 a month to me through my Patreon. But in any case, thank you once again for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.